Today we're going to talk about what you can expect as a customer or consumer to spend on a new PVC fence for your house. And what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to talk actual numbers, because the prices on fencing can really, it's not going to be the same if you live in Florida, California, Iowa, New York, Long Island. It's just not going to be the same, so it's really not worth talking about actual numbers. But what we can talk about is which fences are least expensive and which ones are going to be more expensive, and what determines an inexpensive fence and what makes a fence really expensive. Let's talk about this. I think there are four things that determine the price of a fence if you're going to buy the material and install the fence yourself, and there's a fifth component if you're going to hire somebody to install the fence for you. So let's start with the four determining factors of what makes a fence less expensive or more expensive. The first thing is the brand of the fence. Who made the fence? Where did it come from? What's the quality of the fence? And these are all things you should be asking the store where you're going to buy it, or at least, getting some answers from them. If they can't tell you who made the fence or the quality of the fence, then don't buy it from them, because it's probably not worth buying. Anybody selling anything worth buying is going to know exactly who made it, how it was made, and the quality of the fence. And they could stand behind the product if it's a good fence. What are some brands? These are just some books that I gathered in the office. There's like 100 different companies out there making PVC fencing, and then there's companies importing it from China. Things you're going to want to look out for is how much recycled material is in the fence. Now, recycled material doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad fence, but really, what are they putting into it? Are they buying garbage and crushing it up and putting it into the fence? Or are they just using scraps that fell on the factory floor, and they grind it up and they recycle it and they put it back into the fence? So ask questions. Who made the fence? Where did it come from? How thick is it? And again, a lot of people think that if the rail is bigger, it's a thicker rail, it's a wider rail. The thicker and the wider the rail is, the better the fence. And that's not necessarily the truth, because if you make a 2-inch by 7-inch rail from pure garbage, you basically have a big piece of garbage. If you make a 1.5 by 5.5-inch rail and it's not made with any garbage, then you got a better product, a product that's going to last longer. So don't just go for bigger is better. Has nothing to do with it. It's really the quality of the company making it. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of garbage coming over from overseas now, from China, and we don't even know what's in it. We don't buy it, we don't sell it. Everything I make, everything I sell here in Long Island and Wantor is made by companies that we know. We know the company, we know the owner, we know the manufacturing process, and we're comfortable selling it. I would sell it to my friends, my family, I would sell it to you. So again, know where the product came from. So number one is brand. That's going to determine the cost. The better the brand, the more expensive it's going to be. Okay. Number two, in determining the cost of the fence, is the style of the fence. Generally speaking, a privacy fence, 6 foot, 5 foot, 4 foot high, solid privacy PVC fence is going to be your least expensive option, because it's the easiest one to make. They mass produce them. Everybody sells them. So it's going to be the cheapest fence. And it does, by cheap, I don't mean cheap, I mean inexpensive. So that's going to be basically, if you want to start pricing fencing with anybody, start out, ask them how much for a 6 foot high solid privacy fence, and then you could start adding options. What if I do a lattice on top, like a mini lattice or a standard lattice, a square lattice? Those are going to generally be the next step up. It's going to be a solid bottom with a lattice top. And then you can go with a picket top. You can go with a scallop picket, a straight picket. You can go with a capped picket, again with a solid bottom. That's going to be a little bit more than a lattice top fence. And then you start getting into semi-private fences where you have a board-on-board or a horizontal privacy fence. Those are going to be a little bit more expensive. I tell people all the time, if you have a big piece of property, even a small piece of property, you don't need to go with a lattice top or a picket top around the entire property. What a lot of people do or will do is put the inexpensive solid privacy on the two sides and the back, and then something more decorative in the front where people are going to see it. But anyway, the style of the fence is definitely going to determine the price. The third thing that's going to determine the price of your fence is the color of your fence. PVC nowadays comes in dozens and dozens of colors. White is going to be the least expensive. In any of the styles, in any of the heights, white is always going to be the least expensive, followed by your adobe, your khaki colors, your beige and gray. Those are going to be usually about 10 to 15% more than white, followed by the darker colors, which are going to be more expensive. Brown, black, green, those are going to be more expensive. And then you have probably dozens of wood tone colors that try to simulate what a wood fence is going to look like. Those are generally going to be your most expensive in any style. So if you want to keep the fence prices down, white, beige, gray, adobe, those are going to be your least expensive, followed by your darker colors, brown, black, and green, and then your wood tone colors. There's a ton of other colors in between. You can get yellow, red. There are companies that make every shade imaginable, but you're going to pay for it. So if I was pricing out a fence, I would tell people start with whatever style you like in white, and then how much more if I do it in beige or gray, and then go from there. If you're comfortable with the price and you're willing to spend more money, then get the price in the darker colors or the wood tones. Okay? The fourth thing that's going to determine the price of your fence, obviously, is where you live, your location. I said before, Long Island, I could tell you the prices of any fence in my area, that the 50 miles around my shop. I could tell you what a fence should cost and how, and I'll be probably dead on accurate every single time, within a few dollars. But I don't know what a price is going to cost in Florida. I don't know what a fence is going to cost in California, in Iowa, and I don't even know what it's going to cost in upstate New York or Connecticut. Where you live is definitely going to determine how much you pay for a fence. And I would suggest if you live in a really nice neighborhood and you have a Maserati, do not leave it in the driveway when the fence installer comes to your house. Move it. Borrow somebody's Ford Pinto, a 1978 Cadillac, something old and beat up, and put it in the driveway. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Alex. But anyway, location is definitely going to affect the price of your fence. The next thing that's going to determine the price of your fence, if you have it installed by a professional, and I'm going to go like this for professional, what company are you hiring to install the fence? We've gone out on estimates and people tell us, Dennis, you're $1,000 more than the last estimate I had. And I said, well, who do you get an estimate from? Because I know what the price of the fence should be, and what we need as an installation company to come there and do the job that we need to do. And they'll tell me, oh, I hired this guy, George. And I'm like, well, who's George? I don't know who George is. Is George licensed? Is he insured? Does he have workers' comp? Does he pay his employees off the books? These things are going to determine the price of the fence, because a legitimate installation company cannot compete with the guy standing in front of Lowe's or Home Depot who's going to charge you $300 for the day. And I'll tell you what you get for $300 a day. You eventually get a phone call with me to come over to your house and fix your fence because you can't find that guy anymore. And he did such a lousy job. Looked good the day he finished, but you didn't realize he cut every post 1.5 feet, and because he didn't feel like digging that deep. He didn't use a lot of cement. He didn't put screws where he should have been put screws. And he just did a crappy job because he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, you know, he looked at the final product and he said, oh, look, it looks nice. And he said, okay, yeah, it's a fence. And then it falls apart. You should have hired a professional. But anyway, the company that you hire is going to determine, again, how much you pay. Is the company insured? Do they have workers' comp? Do they pay their guys off the books or on the books? I don't pay anybody off the books. It's ridiculous. It hurts the industry, and it hurts the employee. They don't have any benefits. If you pay somebody off the books and they get hurt, they don't have workers' comp. They don't have disability if they get sick and they can't come to work. And they don't have unemployment insurance if it snows outside for 3 months and there's no work. You know, so if you don't care about people, hire the guy from Home Depot and Lowe's, and you'll get what you get. You'll get a crappy installation job. I see it I see it all the time. If you want a good job, you hire somebody who's licensed, who's been in business. Find out if they've been around a long time, because you know, anybody could say I've been putting up fences for, you know, X amount of years, and you know, maybe they have. I don't know. You know, I used to tell people, call the company up that you want to hire and say something like this: hey, you put up my fence 3 years ago and I'm having a problem, and see how quickly they respond to that. Are they willing to take your name and your number and come back and look at it, or do they want to just pass you off and get you off the phone? The last thing I want to say about installation companies is, if you're going to hire somebody to do work at your house, make sure that you can find them. Do they have a location? Do they have a storefront? It's important, because if you have a problem with the fence and they don't return your phone call, you can get in your car, you could drive to where you bought the fence, walk in and talk to somebody. When you hire a guy you know, that lives in an apartment and 3 towns over, and he's been doing it for a couple of years, maybe a couple of months, maybe a week, you don't know. You hire him, he does your fence, you give him all the money for the fence. 2 weeks later, the gate is dragging on the concrete and nothing works, the fence is leaning, and you call him up and you say, hey, George. And he goes, yeah. He goes, well, you installed my fence 3 weeks ago and I'm having a problem with the gate. Click. You'll never see George again. If we did your fence 5 years ago and you call us and you say, Alex, Dennis, you did my fence and the gate isn't latching properly, we're going to take your name, we're going to take your address, your phone number, and we're going to get there in a day, 2 days, 3 days, no more than 3 days. We're going to be at your house, we're going to fix the gate. And if it's something that we could just fix and there's, you know, no damage that anybody else did to the fence, we're not going to charge you for that. We're just going to fix it. If a lacrosse ball went through the fence and damaged it, well, you know, we're going to charge you to fix the fence, but we're not going to bang you over the head to come there. So find an installation company that's been around, you know them, some friends have used them, you trust them. You know, don't just hire some guy you met at Home Depot standing in the fence aisle. Don't hire a guy who you saw an ad in a local penny saver or something and you don't know anything else about him, because, you know, even though he's cheaper in the long run, it's going to wind up costing you more money. So anyway, to recap, the 4 things that I think are going to affect the price of your fence are the brand, how's the quality of the fence, the style of the fence, the color of the fence, location, and if you're going to have it installed by a company, the quality of the installation company is definitely going to determine the cost of the fence. And that's all I have to say about the cost of the fence. So go out and buy a fence this year. Don't worry about the economy. Don't worry about tariffs. Don't worry about the stock market. Live your life. You need a fence, you have a dog, you have kids, you have a pool. Just get the fence. don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay.
Wait, one question.
One question.
Susie wants to know exactly how much her fence is going to cost.
Susie wants to know how much her fence is going to cost?
Yeah.
And what am I going to tell Susie?
I don't know if she watched this whole video and she doesn't have a number.
All right, Susie, give us a call. Tell us, we'll ask you a couple of questions. We're gonna quickly ask you some questions. We're gonna ask you, how tall of a fence do you need? Are you doing this for privacy? How many gates do you need? What color do you like? What style do you like? We're gonna send you some pictures. You're gonna answer a couple of questions. And what I like to do, like I said at the beginning, tell me how big of a piece of property you have, and I'm gonna give you the basic 6-foot high privacy fence with 1 or 2 gates going into your yard. That's going to be the lowest number. And then I'm going to ask you, do you want to go with a different color? Do you want to go with a different style in the front? Do you want to go with a different style around the whole yard? And then we're going to slowly narrow it down to what you're going to pay for a fence. We're going to tell you, if you want to know how much the fence is just to buy the material, and you and your husband are going to be out there with the kids digging holes and installing it, we'll send the fence to you, and we'll even tell you how to install it. We'll show you how to measure for the gates. We're going to make it real easy for you, but we can quickly get you into a ballpark of what a fence is going to cost, and then when you think you're comfortable with the price, and you live local, Alex or myself will come over to your house. We'll actually measure the property, and we'll give you an exact number. That's what I'm going to tell you, Susie. Give us a call. Okay, the number's on the screen right here. Alex, is the number on the screen yet?
It's on the screen. Yeah.
It's on the screen. That's the number right there. Is it? No, it's there. Where are you putting the number? I don't know. Stop that. Okay, goodbye.